I'd like to say hi to Laird, a fellow aviator.
There you go. He's 17, been a pilot for a couple of years. What does he want to be? An astronaut.
Well, I wanted to be an astronaut myself. I understand the emotion.
So the piece of information I read about you that was most fascinating was that you're a Top Gun #1 pilot.
Mm-hmm.
1986, the movie Top Gun comes out,
Yeah.
and we all think, hey, we all want to be Top Gunners.
Yeah.
1988, you are a Top Gunner.
Yeah, I was the Air Force top test pilot that year, and then the Navy test pilot of the year a couple years after that.
So tough being from Canada, moving down into the United States for that? Or was it just a position based solely on attributes and skill?
Canada only trains 1 or 2 test pilots a year for the whole country. And so it's pretty tough to get selected to go to test pilot school. And it's the hardest year of my life, test pilot school. It is very academic and very physically demanding. You fly 32 different airplanes that year, and you evaluate every single flight. It is a really wickedly hard year, and it was the most fun year in my life, I think, also.
Was it a disservice in when Tom Hanks did the To the Moon series? Did you see that?
I did. It's very good.
There was one of them where the fella said, I don't even know what I'm doing up here and how I got up here.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And I think that you read your resume, and it detracts a lot from the intellect that has to go into being astronaut pilot.
There's a lot of shucks goes into what people say out loud, but the people that fly in space, I mean, Buzz Aldrin, who second man to walk on the moon, he has a PhD out of MIT. He helped invent rendezvous, orbital dynamics and orbital mechanics understanding to be able to do that type of thing. It's a lot of people that have done a lot of interesting things. The guy I did my spacewalks with, he's a medical doctor and a commercial pilot, and he's climbed Everest twice. And that's just one of the guys in the office. So, and he won't tell you about any of those things if you talk to him. So yeah, there's a lot of shucks, but it's some pretty impressive people.
Is there that alpha male mentality in the group, or are you all pretty friendly with one another?
Early on, when we were asking Al Shepard and John Glenn to sit on top of rockets that exploded all the time, it was a huge demand of talent and nerve for those guys to ride those early rockets back in the Mercury and leading up to the Apollo program. And we needed serious types of personalities to do that. You need a certain personality type. Living on space station is quite different. Our risks are high, but we're not just up there to ride the rocket and show it can be done and make that work. We're living in space for half a year in a small space, so you need different type of people. And so the number of alpha male, the super dominant projected personality, they've really dropped off in the office just because that's not who you want to spend 6 months living in a tin can with.
So I was trying to explain this to my friend Tim when he found out that you were going to be on the program. It's the trained in the left seat is different than being trained in the right seat or one of the back seats.
Sure. The space shuttle has a crew of 4 upstairs and 3 downstairs, and the 3 downstairs ride to orbit and back. They're not. Their only training is sort of like a super advanced version of the training you get on Air Canada, where this is where the emergency exit is, and this is how you get out in an emergency. You're wearing a parachute and everything, but you're not operating the vehicle. It takes 4 people to fly a shuttle, and the roles are very specific. The Soyuz, which I flew the last time, the Russian spaceship, commander sits in the middle, the pilot or co-pilot is what I was, sits on the left, and then the person on the right is, again, mostly in a passenger role. So it really depends where you're sitting, the level of responsibility you have, and the amount of training it takes in order to get assume that responsibility.
You mentioned the Soyuz. So you were actually on the Mir space station.
I helped build the Russian space station Mir, actually, using Canadarm. I was the first Canadian to use Canadarm. And I was on Space Shuttle Atlantis, and we built a big... Why are you laughing?
Because do you not just look at yourself sometimes and go, man, I really am pretty cool? Do you not do that?
Have you looked at me? I look
but that's
like
okay.
I should give you a speeding ticket.
I love that, but I love that dichotomy. I love that contrast, Chris. No, honest to goodness. I see when I made my children, they're 10 and 14 years of age, and my wife and I. And we stand in front of the computer and watch your version of David Bowie's Space Oddity.
Yeah.
And the first thing that occurs to me is, you can actually sing. You're a pretty good singer.
Yeah, I've fronted bands for the last 20 years or so.
Have you really?
Yeah.
If you tell me that was really you playing the guitar, I'm serious. We may have to Rochambeau.
That's really me playing guitar.
Okay, now I'm almost humbled to embarrassment because I think if the term Renaissance man has ever applied to anybody I've ever met, and I've met a lot of people, I don't think anybody qualifies to where you're at.
Well, I don't even know what to say. I just try and do what I like, and I try and be ready for things as they come along, and I practice and I look to learn stuff all the time. I resolved a long time ago, when someone's willing to teach you something for free, take them up on it. And that could be the guy sitting next to you on the bus, or maybe you see someone else playing guitar. Everybody who plays guitar knows a song you don't know. And so learn what they know. Pay attention. Learn what people are doing. And by the time you get to be my age, you've learned a lot of stuff.
If I'm David Bowie or any one of the rock stars, there's millions of people who have tried to copy my song or do something with my songs, and you just go, here's another one.
Right.
So what was your conversation with David Bowie like?
Well, I made a version of it up on board. My son goaded me into it. I was like, I don't want to do Space Oddity. It's kind of depressing, and the astronaut dies, and plus nobody covers Bowie. How do you cover Bowie? It's just the production value is so good. But my son said, Dad, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for everybody else. So he rewrote the words. I did a version of it. And when I heard my own voice, I went, hey, that sounds good. Like, that's a really interesting sort of thoughtful version of the lyrics. And then I did the guitar, but we had friends do the piano work and the Joe Corcoran and M. Greiner. M. Greiner, she's a great musician. Anyway, they put the instrumental underneath. Then we had this very good audio, and we sent that to David Bowie, saying, hey, what do you think? Can we do a video? And he loved it. He thought he said it was superb.
Do a video? You mean a video in space or a video with David Bowie?
Space. No, video in space. And then when he saw the final version, he said it was the best version that's ever been done of the song. So huge praise. And I haven't met him in person yet, but I'd love to. He's a really, really creative force of a guy who's reinvented himself and kind of defined a whole generation of culture just within his own creativity. I got a lot of respect.
Okay, I asked my family. I got to meet him. What questions do you want to know? My 14-year-old son. Okay. Did you see the movie Gravity?
I did. I was at the North American premiere.
Did they get it right?
The visuals they got right.
Yeah.
There's no movie has the look of space, the vastness of it, the feeling of being alone in between the world and the universe. No movies ever looked better. The technical details aren't right, but it
bullshit is what it is. But it's good. Did you catch the internet story that had you sitting in a theater?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Heckling the actual technicalities
it's
of.
Funny that got picked up in the Australian media as fact. They didn't check that it was.
Really?
That it was the Onion or whatever it was. No, the
Beaverton.
Beaverton.
Yeah, say Onion, same kind of thing.
Yeah, that it was a mock, a satire. I just thought it was kind of funny. They retracted it right away.
Okay, so if George Clooney had have opened the hatch, this is my 14-year-old son's question.
Yeah.
Does Sandra Bullock explode from the inside out?
No, actually, if you get exposed to vacuum, all the liquid on the surface of your body will immediately boil because because there's no air pressure to hold it. So your eyeballs, the fluid in your eyeballs and in your mouth and everything would start to boil at a low temperature.
You'd think you're the mayor of Toronto at that point.
Yeah, yeah, true enough. You'd start to freeze. Because it's minus 120 degrees, so your skin would flash freeze. But the thing that would kill you would be you suffocate because you couldn't get any breath. Your lungs would collapse and then you'd be done. And slowly your blood would boil. You'd get the bends. But so I thought about it.
So no, you wouldn't explode from the inside out.
No, but it wouldn't matter. You'd be done.
So to my 14-year-old, thank you for that accurate description of exactly how you would die in space.
You're welcome.
Which leads to my wife's question. You ever been scared?
I honestly try and never be in a position where I'm going to get scared. And why are you scared? You're scared because you don't know what to do next, right? Or you think you're in danger and you don't know the right thing to do. That's what makes you scared. Or it's an irrational fear. I'm afraid of whatever. I'm afraid of bees or something.
Yeah.
And riding a rocket ship should be terrifying, inherently. It's the most dangerous thing I've done in my life. And if they'd grabbed me right off the street the day they hired me as an astronaut, put me in the rocket ship and said, okay, push the wrong button, you die, push the right button, you stay alive, I would have been terrified. But instead they said, okay, in 5 years, you're going to fly the spaceship, and we're going to start teaching you every single thing. We're going to identify everything that might kill you. And then not only are you going to know how it all works, but then we're going to practice 5,000 times and make everything go wrong over and over and over again. And by the end of that process, all the things that would have terrified you because you didn't know what to do, they're familiar. And if you were a caveman and someone put you in a Porsche and drove you at 80 miles an hour, it would be terrifying.
Yeah.
But all of us drive cars, and we've gotten used to it. We understand the dangers. You get used to the idea, and the fear gets lowered. Even though driving a car should be terrifying, it's dangerous. But you just get used to the idea. And I try and treat everything in life that way. Understand what the risk is, get myself ready so that I have the skills to meet that risk. And so then when it does pop up, it's not scary. If it doesn't pop up, then I'm more relaxed than I would have been.
You're truly a fascinating man. I really wish I could have an hour with you, but there's a whole group of people that are dying to get you out of here.
Sorry.
I do want to plug that you're going to be at Kids Books between 7 and 10 tonight. Do you have kids?
I have 3.
How old are they?
30, 28, and 27.
All right, you've forgotten what it's like to have kids because you're going to be there from 7 till 10 p.m. That's bedtime for them. But you'll be signing autographs,
I didn't set
right?
my schedule, and I'll be signing autographs, and the book is doing amazingly well. For a first-time author, it's a bestseller in Canada and the U.S., so I'm pretty delighted.
If I've ever hoped for someone to have nothing but success and millions of dollars, it's you. I really appreciate your time.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
Astronaut
Thanks.
Chris Hadfield, thank you, sir.
Thanks for the questions.